In our 7th year together, Lucas still refused to marry me. When a friend asked him why, he smoked a cigarette, his expression indifferent. When Elizabeth got with me, she was no longer a virgin. For real? Why didn't you break up with her then? A free woman to play with seems like a waste to just throw her away. So, he indulged that girl's antics and even signed the contract she demanded for keeping her. I silently accepted this breakup and walked away. But Lucas lowered his head. We'll get married. As long as you come back, we'll get married. I laughed out loud. You've got it wrong. You were only ever my boyfriend, never my husband-to-be. When I arrived at Lucas' tea house, he was playing around with that girl. I recognized her, Grace. A week ago, Lucas and I had a huge argument because of her. He had deleted and blocked her right in front of me. But now, she was still by his side. I watched as she jumped on Lucas' back. He looked annoyed, scolding her in a low voice, but instinctively protected her. Are you acting crazy again? Keep messing around, and I'll send you back to school. Grace, unafraid, pouted. No, if you don't agree to my terms, I won't get down. Do you believe I won't hit you? I'll believe it once you do. Grace rested her chin on Lucas' shoulder. By the way, there's this old guy who's been really interested in me lately. Grace. Lucas turned his head. They were so close, it seemed like they could kiss at any second. I sat in the car, quietly watching. Suddenly, I found it all so pointless. Honestly, it had felt pointless a week ago already. That day was a weekend. With nothing to do, I told Lucas, I'll come to the shop to keep you company? Ever since he opened this tea house, he liked having me around now and then. I thought he wanted that kind of companionship. But on the other side of the video call, he froze. He looked irritated, saying, Why are you coming? I paused. Can't I? He grew a bit frustrated. It's not that. Just why do you need to come? In that moment, I didn't even need a woman's sixth sense to realize something was off. Still, on the way there, I kept trying to convince myself that I was overthinking it. Until I arrived at the tea house. Just like today, showing up unannounced. Twice. Both times I ran into Grace. I couldn't believe it was a coincidence. So, there was only one explanation. Grace was always there. What was she doing? Trying to steal him away. She had made it pretty obvious. Grace was a junior to both Lucas and me from school. Last year, Lucas had gone back to his alma mater for an alumni event, where Grace was assigned to greet him. As he was leaving, she got his contact information. A week later, she sent him a message, Senior, do you want a mistress? $10K per month for the arrangement. That day, Lucas and I were watching a movie when he suddenly clicked his tongue, looking annoyed. Kids these days, what do they even think about all day? I asked him what happened. He handed me his phone. It was a chat window with no saved name. Just that one message. There wasn't even a notification that she'd added him as a friend. They had talked before. The chat history had been deleted. Saying I didn't mind would have been a lie. Saying I wasn't bothered wasn't possible either. But since Lucas showed it to me so openly, I believed he could handle it. I really thought he could. Yet 2 months later, Grace had gone from a virtual message to becoming a girl Lucas indulged in real life. That expensive solid-wood tea table Lucas and I had picked it out together. A friend once put takeout on it, and Lucas immediately kicked him out. The friend laughed in disbelief, saying, You really treasure that thing, huh? Lucas, lazily reclining in a grand chair, replied, Maybe later. Right now, I'm just really attached to it. But now, that very thing he cherished so much, he let Grace place steaming hot pot and cold milk tea on it. A week ago was the first time I met Grace in person. She wasn't embarrassed or afraid when facing me. Instead, both Lucas and I had unpleasant looks on our faces. Lucas introduced her as a friend. She, however, giggled and said, Not just a friend. I'm also chasing after him. Sis, you better be careful, I might just take your place. I couldn't understand Lucas. What are you doing? You know exactly what she's after, so why haven't you rejected her? Why are you letting her stay around you? What are you doing? Lucas, irritated, replied, She's just a kid, talking nonsense. Why do you care? She insists on coming by. What am I supposed to do, throw her out? But Lucas. All right. I'll delete her, okay? He blocked and deleted Grace right in front of me, annoyed, frustrated, suppressing his anger. Are you satisfied now? He turned and walked away. I stood there, staring at his back. Satisfied? This should have been the outcome I wanted. But seeing Lucas' demeanor and expression left me feeling suffocated, like I couldn't breathe. For the past week, our relationship had been lukewarm. This morning, Lucas called me, saying a new batch of cinnamon had arrived and asked me to come pick it up. I hadn't planned to come today. But a meeting was suddenly cancelled, so I had time. That's when I saw this scene. Lucas seemed to have run out of patience with Grace. What do you want now, princess? Grace, hanging on to his back, happily kicked her legs. Just sign the contract. Once you sign, I'll stop bothering you. Lucas let out a long, tired sigh. Fine, give it to me. What? The contract. I knew you'd agree. Grace jumped off his back. Lucas was startled and quickly steadied her. Can't you be more careful? Worried about me? Here, sign it. Grace handed over the contract, but Lucas didn't even look at it. He flipped to the last page and scribbled his name, tossing it back to her. Grace smiled happily and planted a kiss on the contract. Can I take a look? I asked. I had gotten out of the car while they were signing. They were so absorbed in each other that no one noticed me, so when I spoke, it startled both of them. Grace screamed, and Lucas instinctively pulled her into his arms. The contract conveniently fell at my feet. I bent down to pick it up. Lucas tried to grab it from me, but I dodged him. I looked at him coldly. What are you trying to take? Lucas stiffened. Why are you here? I smirked. I came to pick up the tea, but now I'll read the contract first. That's Grace's contract. We shouldn't invade someone's privacy. Oh really? I asked Grace, do you mind? Grace glanced at me, then at Lucas. A mischievous glint flashed in her eyes, and she raised an eyebrow at him. I don't mind. The tension around Lucas instantly grew heavy. He took 2 steps forward. I held the contract behind my back. If she doesn't mind, and I don't mind, what are you worried about? Is it because it's a sugar baby contract? I've seen many contracts in my life, but a sugar baby contract? This was a first. Putting such things into writing, how niche. The contract stated that Party A was to pay Party B a monthly fee of 10,000 yuan for services, which included, but were not limited to, companionship and intimacy. Lucas, I really don't understand what you're doing. Meeting my gaze, Lucas frowned deeply. This is just something Grace is playing around with. You're taking it seriously? I'm not playing around, I'm serious, Grace interjected. Shut up. Lucas snapped. See? Always yelling at me. Humph, I let out a bitter laugh. I truly found it all meaningless. Even now, these two could act so intimately right in front of me as if I wasn't even there. I couldn't help but wonder, did I do something to make others look down on me this much? I handed the contract back to Grace and turned to leave. Lucas grabbed my arm. Where are you going? I looked up at him. I'm agreeing. To what? To breaking up. I agree. He tightened his grip on my hand, and it hurt a little. He shouted, when did I say we were breaking up? I scoffed. Things have come to this, and we're still not breaking up? Lucas, who do you think you're insulting? I already explained. This is just her playing around, you. I won't accept it. If you think this is no big deal, go find a girlfriend who can accept this. Don't try to convince May won't accept it. I tried to push Lucas away, but he wouldn't let go. Grace suddenly spoke up, Senior, are you taking me or not? I have a club event tonight, and I'm going to be late. Lucas hesitated. Finally, he let go of me. Go ahead and get in. We'll talk when I get back. He turned and walked toward Grace. Grace naturally climbed into the passenger seat and skillfully pulled snacks from the compartment. She tried to give some to Lucas, but he dodged her. She didn't give up, though. Lucas, annoyed, swatted her hand. Then the car sped off. I stood there, leaning against my car, pressing a hand to my chest, and let out a long breath. It was over. At 6:30, I left the tea house. I went somewhere else and bought some tea. At 8 o'clock, I dropped it off at my mom's place and spent half an hour listening to her nagging. She kept pushing me to get married, warning me that if Lucas still wouldn't marry me this year, I should break up with him. I'd been with Lucas for 7 years. I had been hearing this for 4. At first, it annoyed me. Then it made me angry. Sometimes, I'd even argue with her. But at some point, I had grown numb to it all. Now, I felt nothing. So, I interrupted her. It's over. What? She asked. Lucas and we broke up. My usually loud and animated mother suddenly fell silent, staring at me in shock. A moment later, she rushed toward the kitchen. I quickly grabbed her. What are you doing? I'm going to smash him. Does he think he can bully us just because we have no one to stand up for us? 7 years of dating and now he says it's over? He's making a fool of you. She yelled louder and louder, cursing Lucas, until she finally started crying. What are you going to do, Peach? What will you do in the future? What will I do? I'll work hard, live well. It's just a breakup, not the end of the world. Mom, I'm fine. Though I felt a bit stifled and sad, it wasn't something unbearable. Even if it were a major crisis, it would eventually pass. Let alone these smaller issues. After spending some time with my mom, it was nearly 10 p.m. by the time I got home. During that time, Lucas had called me twice. Once at 7:20 and again at 8 o'clock. I didn't answer either call, I just hung up. He didn't call again after that. I could imagine his irritation and anger. As he often said, Elizabeth, you're not the only one with a temper. I can get upset too. Why is it always me who has to make things right? But really, how many times had he actually tried to make things right with me? Lucas wasn't a perfect boyfriend, but he was a decent teacher. He taught me independence, composure, rationality, and how to deal with my own emotions. So much so that now, after breaking up, I didn't even lose sleep over it. A week later. It was the 7th day since Lucas and I had broken up. He showed up outside my office building. I froze for a few seconds, not expecting it to be him. He was sitting in his car and rolled down the window. There's a new hot pot place on Golden Street. I'll take you there. I suddenly found it funny. Turns out he didn't take our breakup seriously at all. He thought this was just like before, after a fight or a Cold War, all he had to do was offer me an olive branch, and once I accepted, everything would be back to normal. No need for an explanation, no resolution, and nothing to ever be mentioned again. Lucas, I'm serious about the breakup. With that, I started walking towards the parking lot. Quickly, I heard footsteps behind me, and Lucas grabbed my hand. How long are you going to keep this up? I felt a bit annoyed, but I forced myself to stay calm and talk to him. Lucas, I'm not acting out or making a scene. To me, we've already been broken up for a week. I didn't agree. It's just a breakup, I don't need your agreement. His lips tightened, and he stared at me intently. All this because of Grace and that sugar baby contract? I already explained it to you. There's no need. You don't have to explain anything to me, and I don't want to hear it. A breakup is a breakup. Lucas, we're in public. Don't make a scene. I got in my car and drove off. He followed me closely. What do you want? Let's talk. Ha! How ironic. In 7 years of dating, I'd wanted to talk to him countless times, but he never wanted to. Now that I didn't want to talk anymore, he refused to let it go. Lucas said, is it because of that sugar baby contract? I lowered my head, gripping my water cup, saying nothing. I thought you'd understand, he continued. It was just something Grace was fooling around with. Did you really think that just because I signed the contract, I was going to do something with her? You heard it yourself. If I didn't sign it, she'd have gone to someone else. When she gets reckless, there's no telling what she'll do. She's only 19. 19. I was a bit taken aback. When Lucas and I started dating, I was 19 too. 7 years later, now he's after another 19-year-old. Do you remember what happened with old Sia? He looked confused. Old Sia? Old Sia met up with his first love and started bringing her everywhere to dinners, to parties. One time, we ran into them, and you told me not to tell his wife. I didn't even know his wife, so it wasn't like I could tell her anyway. But I was confused. Didn't old Sia say she was just a friend? Do you remember how you answered me? Lucas was stunned. I answered for him, you said, a friend? It's just not out in the open yet. Everyone can see what's really going on. What kind of man with a girlfriend spends every day with another woman by his side? See, Lucas, you know exactly what's going on. You indulged Grace, signed that so-called sugar baby contract, and got overly involved in her business. We both know what that means. So let's not pretend otherwise, alright? Lucas lowered his eyes. Seeing him go silent, I decided to end the conversation. If there's nothing else, you can leave now. But, I really haven't done anything with her. My heart felt heavy. Does there need to be something? Do we have to wait until it gets to hand-holding, hugging, kissing, sleeping together? Do I have to wait for things to reach that point before I'm allowed to break up with you? Or when it does get to that point, will you still try to say it was just a mistake? Lucas, are you just afraid of people thinking you did something wrong? I suddenly realized, and I nodded. All right, then. You didn't do anything wrong. You've done nothing wrong. I'm simply breaking up with you, okay? Lucas slammed the door on his way out. His face was dark, and he stormed off. I sat in the living room for a long time. I thought to myself, thank goodness Lucas and I hadn't gotten married yet. Otherwise, that really would have been heartbreaking. Lucas and I had been together for 7 years, but we were stuck at the point of marriage. Why hadn't we gotten married? Our relationship was stable, and there were no plans to break up. So wasn't marriage just the next logical step? This is a question many people have asked us. Lucas's response was always, it's still early, no rush. He wasn't in a hurry, but I was, for a while. I didn't understand. Why? Why was he so unwilling to get married? During that time, our relationship was tense. So tense that even the smallest issue could lead to a big argument. We argued and gave each other the silent treatment, always avoiding the topic of marriage. It was a deadlock. Bringing it up might lead to a breakup. Then, one day, he said something, we're not even married, so why do I have to take you with me just to buy a car? It hit me like a thunderbolt. I felt like I'd been slapped in the face, humiliated, ashamed. Let's break up. I turned around and left, moving out of his apartment. Even when we made up later, I never moved back in. That breakup hurt, but at the same time, I secretly felt a sense of relief. Still, after 7 years of being together, when he extended an olive branch, I took it. We brushed the issue aside like it was no big deal, and everything seemed back to normal. But my desire to marry Lucas suddenly faded. Why didn't Lucas want to get married? I had doubts. I questioned him. I overthought it, and I even secretly investigated it. But by now, none of it really mattered. Yet, someone still felt the need to tell me the truth. And the truth she told me was even more humiliating than anything I had imagined. Grace sent me a video. In it, Lucas and one of his childhood friends were smoking. His friend asked him, still not planning to marry Peach? Lucas looked annoyed. We'll see. I'm really curious, what's the reason you don't want to get married? Lucas took a deep drag from his cigarette, exhaled a cloud of smoke, and said, Elizabeth wasn't a virgin when she got with me. Really? I thought you were her first? Heh, who knows? Then why don't you just break up with her? Lucas paused for 2 seconds. It's like tasteless food, you don't want to eat it, but it feels like a waste to throw it away. Grace added, do you know why Lucas lets me hang around him? Because I'm a virgin. He said he's never been with a virgin before. The first time we held hands, the first hug, the first kiss, the first time we went all the way, those had all been such heart-fluttering experiences. Are you a virgin? Why wasn't there any blood? At the time, I was already half asleep, but I forced myself to stay awake and look at him. What did you say? He shook his head, gently wrapping his arms around me, as if I had imagined it. Go to sleep, it's nothing. When we first started dating, we paid extra attention to each other's words and actions. So, even though Lucas said it was nothing, I remembered it. In our society, people are often too shy to talk about sex. I didn't know how to bring it up to Lucas, but not talking about it made me feel like it was important. So, swallowing my embarrassment, I showed Lucas a science video debunking the myths about losing virginity and explaining why some women don't bleed or feel pain their first time. The video explained that in ancient times, girls got married young, and the so-called bloodstains were more often caused by tearing. Nowadays, most women don't bleed their first time for 3 reasons. First, before their first time, some women may have already torn the hymen through strenuous activities like biking, horseback riding, weightlifting, or swimming. Second, after sexual maturity, the hymen has fewer blood vessels, so some women may only bleed a tiny amount, too little to notice. Third, some women's hymens are too elastic or resilient to tear at all. These should have been common facts, but they were never properly taught. Back then, I nervously watched Lucas's reaction. I didn't know what I would do if he still didn't believe me. But fortunately, he just smiled lightly. I was just curious. Did you really take it seriously? How could I not believe you? He said he believed me. But 5 years later, he was still telling someone else that I wasn't a virgin when we got together. I felt confused and sad. I suddenly started questioning the 7 years we had spent together. For the first time, I felt like I had wasted them. A friend called to invite me to an outdoor party at the Shiyu Hotel next Wednesday to celebrate her second wedding anniversary with her husband. Be there at 6 in the afternoon, and don't forget to dress up. That day, another friend happened to pass by my office and invited me to go together. Aren't you going to change? Everyone else is dressing pretty formally. I shook my head. No need. He hesitated, but in the end, he swallowed his words. On the way, he told me, Lucas isn't in contact with Grace anymore. Actually, it was always Grace clinging to him. He just didn't want to be too harsh because she was young. But this time, he really cursed at her and told her to get lost. Peach, you and Lucas have been together for so many years. If you really break up over someone like that, it's not worth it. Lucas knows he was wrong this time. Does he really know? He probably doesn't. Because in this world, how often is one side still so deeply invested when the other has already given up? A girl like Grace couldn't have gotten this far without some sort of response. People only act recklessly within the limits they're allowed. Everything Grace did to Lucas was because he allowed it. I couldn't be bothered to say anything about it because there was no need. Who doesn't know this? It's just that some people are pretending to be clueless, and others are feigning ignorance. Soon, we arrived at our destination. A friend handed me a mask. Put it on and walk along the red carpet. I'm going to buy a pack of cigarettes. I glanced at the masquerade mask in my hand and tossed it back where it came from. I walked along the red carpet, surrounded by flowers and dazzling lights. Hey, is this yours? I just picked it up. Here you go. A man wearing a mask handed me a photo. It was 18-year-old Elizabeth and Lucas. That was during our first-class field trip, where we picked up trash in the park. Afterward, the whole class took a group photo. Lucas suddenly leaned in close to me and made a peace sign next to my ear. I picked up another one. Does this look like you? At 19, Lucas confessed to me. There were no flowers, no lights, no grand gestures. Just a nervous Lucas stammering, "Will you be my girlfriend? If yes, hug me. If not, I'll ask again tomorrow." I hugged him, and a passing classmate captured the moment on camera. Here, this one has you in it. At 20, we went hiking together. I happily jumped on his back. A friend yelled, "Turn around." We turned to look, laughing as the camera captured it. At 21, in the library, Lucas was so tired he could barely keep his eyes open. He lay down, resting his head on his arm, but still left one hand free to hold mine. We were holding hands, and I took a picture. At 22, during our graduation ceremony, he kissed me under the romantic arches. At 23, on his birthday, we had cake smeared all over our faces. And he carefully wiped it off with a napkin. At 24, under the New Year's fireworks, we smiled at each other. At 25, on a road trip, I fell asleep in the passenger seat. And he draped his coat over me. At 26, in the picture, I'm wearing an apron, chopping vegetables. While he's behind me, flashing a peace sign next to my ear, Lucas knelt down in front of me, his body tense. His hand shaking as he pulled out the ring box. "Peach, will you marry me?" As soon as he finished, the crowd erupted in cheers. "Say yes. Say yes. Say yes." Everyone was shouting and jumping around. But I stayed silent. Lucas looked at me. He was thinner, noticeably thinner. Dark circles under his eyes couldn't hide his exhaustion. "Peach, let's get married. As long as you come back, we'll get married." I chuckled softly. Because of the microphone, the sound was amplified for everyone to hear. Suddenly, the crowd fell silent. I took a step back and tossed the photos I had been holding onto the ground. Lucas froze, staring at the photos on the floor, then back at me. Lucas, you've got it all wrong. Marriage? I've never even thought about marrying you. You were just my boyfriend, never my husband-to-be. You're fine to date, but to marry you? I'd be asking for trouble. Besides, you cheated, didn't you? Signed a sugar baby contract with another girl. How could you even have the nerve to propose to me? Who finds a good husband in the trash? Lucas, stop joking. With a blank expression, I turned and started walking away. Lucas scrambled to his feet and grabbed my arm. What do you want from me? He spat out through gritted teeth. I looked at him. I want time to turn back, to the night you confessed to me. I would have told you no and cut off all ties with you. Lucas, these 7 years with you have been the biggest mistake of my life. What should have been a grand proposal turned into a joke. What could have been an amicable breakup had now torn us apart. That night, Lucas buried himself in alcohol. No one could stop him. But in the end, he still left with grace. Lucas's friend sent me a video of it. His message was clear, no one to stop. If you push too far, you'll lose everything. I ignored it and tossed my phone aside. I was exhausted, drained in every way. Lucas called me over and over again. I didn't answer, but I didn't block him or hang up either. I just let my phone light up and go dark, over and over. It felt like as long as Lucas couldn't sleep, I'd feel better. I thought we could part on good terms, forgive and forget, and move on with our lives. I never imagined I'd want to get back at him, hurt him, or make him suffer. But honestly, what could I even do? This world is too forgiving. As long as he stays selfish and self-serving, he'll do just fine. I lay in bed, lost in my thoughts. In the early morning, I heard a faint knock on the door. Or maybe it wasn't a knock, just someone bumping into the door by accident. I looked through the peephole, but saw nothing. Yet if I pressed my ear to the door, I could still hear the faintest sounds. Instinctively, I knew it was Lucas outside. But I didn't open the door. I just stood there, resting my forehead against it for a while before turning back to my bedroom. The next morning, there was no one outside, but the trash can nearby was filled with cigarette butts. My mom didn't get it. When you first broke up, you acted like nothing happened. Now, why do you look like you're falling apart? Is it hitting you late? I chuckled bitterly but didn't say much. My mom worries about me. Or maybe that's just what moms do, especially since my dad passed away early. My mom raised me on her own. She always says she won't truly be at peace until I settle down and start my own family. So, when I was with Lucas, she constantly pushed for marriage. Even now, she still does. When are you going to go on a blind date? It's been so long, and all the successful ones have already found someone. But you, still dragging your feet. I'm not trying to nag you, but after I get back from this business trip. Really? You're not lying to me, are you? I felt helpless. Really, I'm not lying. My mom let out a sigh of relief. And what's with your boss, sending a young woman like you on a business trip to such a remote place? This part made me feel even more helpless. Originally, I had asked for leave, hoping to take a vacation and relax. But my boss asked, "Where are you planning to go for your trip?" I haven't decided yet, just seeing how things go. How about Gansu? What do you think? It wasn't about what I thought of Gansu. The fact that he asked like that was already telling. Just say it, what do you need me to do? There are a few hope schools being built in Gansu. I need you to go check things out and come back with the plans. It's all in mountain villages, far away from the hustle and bustle of the city, perfect for relaxation. Plus, it's paid travel. You won't even need to use your vacation days. I'll give you half a month. And just like that, my trip was decided without much say from me. On the day of my flight, I received a message from Lucas's friend. Lucas drank himself into the hospital. Are you really not going to see him? I deleted the message and turned off my phone. I closed my eyes and cleared my mind. That person, those things, they couldn't drag me down anymore. It wasn't until I came back from Gansu that I found out Lucas had gotten into trouble. In that half month, I had gotten darker and thinner, but after going on that trip, I felt a lot more at peace. I have to admit, There's something about the wild and untamed beauty of the northwest of China that really soothes the soul. The first day I got back, I slept soundly. On the second day, a friend told me Lucas had been detained. For what? Rape. What? I was stunned. That word, I'd only ever seen it in the news. It always felt like something far away from my life. But now, it was connected to Lucas. What exactly happened? I asked. My friend sighed. No one knows what Lucas was thinking. After you rejected his proposal, Grace kept clinging to him. They ended up in some messy relationship. Later, Lucas took Grace to a hotel, and who knows what happened, but he ended up hitting her. Grace called her dad, and he immediately reported it to the police, accusing Lucas of rape. And what did Grace say? My friend sighed again. Mostly, it's based on her testimony. When the police asked if she had consented, she shook her head. On top of that, there was the sugar baby contract Lucas had signed, which Grace's parents held on to as evidence, claiming Lucas had deceived and coerced her, ultimately using violence. Lucas was detained on the spot. This case is tough. Grace's parents aren't open to any mediation, they're determined to see Lucas in jail. Honestly, you can understand why. After raising their daughter for 19 years, if she was in a proper relationship, maybe it wouldn't be so bad. But to have her kept as a sugar baby, slept with, and then beaten? Who could stand that? Peach, do you want to go see Lucas in the detention center? I shook my head. These things, listening to them was one thing, but what did they have to do with me? But then, Grace unexpectedly came looking for me. At the entrance to my building, she threw a bottle of some unknown liquid at me. It all happened too fast. I barely had time to raise my arm to block it. But then, Dr. Nick suddenly rushed over, pulling me into his arms and shielding me from the plastic bottle with his back. My heart clenched, and I hurriedly reached out to touch his back, but Dr. Nick stopped me. It's okay. He took off his coat and sniffed it. It's just water. Grace sneered. What? Afraid it was acid? I thought you were so self-righteous, but you're just as guilty inside. I took out my phone. I don't know if I feel guilty, but you're definitely going to face legal consequences. What do you think you're doing? I only threw mineral water. So what? It's still considered causing a disturbance, and you can still be detained. You wouldn't dare. Grace, just because Lucas and his people treated you like a child, do you really think you are one? Shut up. She screamed hysterically, then crouched down and began crying. I loved him so much. I gave him my first time. Why would he treat me like this? How could he say you're cleaner than me? When I was with him, I was a virgin. My hand, hanging at my side, slowly clenched, then relaxed again. Forget it. I walked toward Grace. Dr. Nick tried to stop me, but I smiled at him. It's okay. He hesitated for a moment before letting go, but he still followed closely behind me. His presence warmed my heart. I looked down at Grace. When I was with him, I was a virgin too. Grace's sobbing stopped abruptly. She looked up at me, startled. But I didn't bleed. Did you? Grace's face turned pale. I really was a virgin. I didn't have anyone else, only him. And how can you prove it? It's the truth. But how are you going to prove it? Elizabeth, what are you trying to say? How dare you slander me? I shook my head, disappointed. Grace, I don't like you. But what I dislike even more is a girl having to go to such lengths to prove her own purity. If a girl has to prove her chastity with a drop of blood, then what about men? He's dirty himself, but demands you be spotless? Who gave him the right? That's the inherent flaw in men, not a shackle for women. Is it up to him to decide if you're pure or worthy? Dr. Nick insisted on walking me downstairs. Give me your coat, I'll wash it and return it. No need. I insist. Dr. Nick gave in helplessly. I'm troubling you. I sighed. I'm the one troubling you. I wanted to thank you, but instead, you got dragged into this. It's not your fault. He said it so sincerely, and I felt he wasn't just talking about tonight's events. Dr. Nick, thank you. I've always known that he's a gentleman and a kind person. The first time I met him was in that small village in Gansu. He was the only doctor in the village's clinic. I was there for 2 days, getting IVs due to acclimation issues. During those 2 days, I saw what true patience looks like. No matter how difficult, chatty, or unreasonable the patients were, he always handled everything calmly. Dr. Nick, you've got such a good temper. I'm not happy about it, I'm just holding it in. Doesn't show. If it showed, wouldn't that be a problem? At the time, I really thought he was a village doctor, just a rather good-looking one. But later, I ran into him at the city hospital. It turns out he was there on a rural volunteer mission. The days I spent there were his last few days on the assignment. Because of that connection, we exchanged contact information when we met again. I owe you a meal to thank you for covering my medical expenses. But he was too busy, so the meal was downgraded to coffee. I never expected Grace to cause such a scene. Grace. Now, she reminded me of myself back then. I couldn't help but think, if Lucas had judged me based on the same thing, would I have handled it any better than Grace did? I don't think so. That sensitive and stubborn version of myself would probably have crumbled. I might have gone to extremes to prove my innocence. I might have lost my mind in the process, breaking down. For a 19-year-old girl. That's why I want to tell Grace, don't define yourself by a man's standards, and don't let a man's standards invalidate who you are. Every girl should know this, and the more girls who know, the better. As for Lucas's case, as long as Grace doesn't change her testimony, it's a done deal. At the first trial, he was sentenced to 3 years. Lucas's family wasn't satisfied and filed an appeal. The second trial upheld the original sentence. Lucas's parents approached me multiple times, saying Lucas wanted to see me. I refused. Later, they brought me a letter. They said Lucas wrote it, hoping I'd read it. I did. It was full of regret. Apparently, Grace had told him everything. He apologized, saying he never doubted me. He said it was just something he said out of frustration, it wasn't what he truly meant. I've been with you for 7 years, Peach. How could I possibly not believe you? He said he had only lost his mind. That I had hurt him by rejecting his proposal, so he used Grace to vent. But when Grace started bad-mouthing me, he couldn't hold back. He said, Peach, the only one I've ever loved is you. Each word, each sentence, I read them all with disinterest. He kept repeating that he was wrong. But after every I was wrong, there was always a but. He said hurtful things to me. He was wrong, but it wasn't intentional. He got involved with Grace, he was wrong, but it was because I rejected him. He hit Grace, he was wrong, but it was to defend me. Did he think he was wrong? In his heart, no. I tore up the letter and threw it in the trash. This was probably the last bit of time I'd waste on Lucas. Tonight, I'll go for a walk with my mom. Tomorrow, I've got a business trip. When I get back, I owe Dr. Nick a meal to thank him for booking that specialist appointment for me. And my succulents, I bought some new flower pots that are really pretty, so I'll need to repot them. I have a fitness class to attend, the instructor has been reminding me. I also promised a friend we'd go on a road trip, so I need to make time for that. Oh, and I'm getting a promotion and a raise. Life isn't perfect, but the world embraces me. May we go through the ups and downs and still remain safe and sound. Epilogue, Lucas. Elizabeth got married, to a doctor. Grace brought the news to Lucas when he still had 6 months left in prison. I snuck into their wedding and watched. Elizabeth was smiling the whole time, looking so happy. Have you ever seen her smile like that? Lucas looked at the photo on the phone. Elizabeth, in a pure white wedding dress, lightly covering her lips with her hand, her head slightly raised, smiling joyfully. You've never seen her like that. No, he had seen it. When he and Elizabeth first got together, she smiled like that all the time. Elizabeth was the type of girl who was easily satisfied. Give her a piece of candy, and she'd be happy for half a day. But later, at some point, she stopped smiling as much, and her smiles became fainter. Lucas, are you crying? Really? Still putting on the act of being heartbroken? Do you still think if you act like this, then it means you did nothing wrong? You're such a scumbag. Lucas, this is the last time I'll come to see you. I won't be back again. I've wasted 2 years on you, and it's not worth it. Elizabeth was deceived and belittled by you for 7 years, and she could move on, why can't I? I didn't. Lucas growled. Grace let out a scoff. You're really such scum. She didn't say another word, stood up, and walked away. Lucas suddenly felt a bit panicked. "Grace!" he shouted, but Grace didn't even turn back. For the past 2 years, Grace had often come to see him. He knew that she wasn't coming to see him, but to vent. Conveniently, Lucas needed to vent too. He hated Grace. If it weren't for Grace, he wouldn't be in this situation. It was Grace who clung to him. It was Grace who begged to be with him. But in the end, she set him up. That night was chaotic. He and Grace slept together. Grace was bold, passionate. Lucas was lost in desire. But when it was over, his heart sank. Grace didn't act like it was her first time, and she didn't bleed. Right. A 19-year-old girl, always talking about finding a sugar daddy, saying she'd go to someone else if he wouldn't take care of her. How pure could she really be? And yet, she had the nerve to slander Elizabeth? Lucas couldn't hold back. He slapped her, knocking her off the bed. He didn't expect Grace to go mad. He didn't expect her father to call the police. Everything that followed, Lucas didn't see coming. In a daze, he became a criminal. He hated Grace. And Elizabeth too. If it weren't for her making a big deal out of it, if it weren't for her rejecting his proposal, Lucas wouldn't have ended up here. But later, Grace told him that Elizabeth found out about his resentment over her not being a virgin because of a video. Lucas lost it, struggling to hit Grace. Grace just laughed, enjoying his reaction. "You're hilarious." She said she was a virgin, and you didn't believe her. "I said I was a virgin, and you didn't believe me either. You don't believe anything except a drop of blood." I once read a story about an emperor who loved a woman but never touched her, because he needed her to prove her purity with cinnabar on her skin. If the cinnabar stayed, she was pure. If it disappeared, all it showed was that her first time was pure. What about the second or third time, Lucas? Tell me, what about those? Lucas didn't think he was wrong. Every man is the same. Wanting your woman to be pure, is that wrong? He only complained a little because he was upset. In those 7 years with Elizabeth, he had truly given his all. But 7 years, that's a long time. Anyone would grow tired. He only drifted occasionally, only played around with Grace for fun. He never thought about breaking up with Elizabeth. Why couldn't she just let it go? Lucas was full of resentment. What he truly regretted was when Grace told him that Elizabeth seemed to have started a new relationship. With a doctor taller, more handsome, kinder than you. Elizabeth left you and found someone better. Doesn't that sting? Yes, it stung. It felt like something precious had been stolen from him. Something that should have been his. Lucas regretted it. He regretted ever getting involved with Grace. Later, Grace repeatedly told him the details of Elizabeth's new relationship. She enjoyed watching Lucas suffer. It made her feel happy. And even though it pained him, Lucas couldn't help but use Grace to spy on Elizabeth's life. She was getting better, while he was falling apart. Lucas regretted it. His 3-year sentence was up, and Lucas was released from prison. In the last 6 months, Grace hadn't come back. Lucas started to really think about Grace for the first time. Outgoing, lively, spoiled, willful. "Can I chase after you, Senior?" That was the first thing Grace said to Lucas. The admiration of a young girl amused Lucas, but also satisfied him. "No, you can't. I already have someone," he said. "Are you married?" "No." "Then I still have a chance." Lucas had only smiled and said nothing. Grace had once said, "If you didn't keep giving me chances, didn't keep indulging me, do you think I would have gone crazy and clung to you? You always say it's my fault." Yes, I was wrong, but weren't you too? The chances he gave Grace? Maybe so. He gave her his contact info, he talked with her, he even told her where his shop was. But he never intended to cheat or break up with Elizabeth. It was just harmless fun, the kind men often have on the side. How did it all go so wrong? His shop was gone, and all his businesses were failing. His successful ventures, his partners kicked him out. His parents were shattered by the whole ordeal, aging overnight. His life was in ruins. Even the matchmaker told him, "With what you've become, you still want something better? Where's your shame?"